Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to Minds Behind the Music. I am your host, LA. Today with me is my friend Greg,
So,
um, another bass player. Now, today's topic has to do with a lot of the newcomers of bass playing, and people that really don't know how to find their sound, find a sound that is like that could be notably theirs and notably how they perform and what their performance would sound like. Say, I can name three bassists off right off the bat that have a signature tone: Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, Geddy Lee from Rush, and Billy Sheehan from Mr. Big, David Lee Roth, and Winery Dogs and Sons of Apollo. There's many others that I can name too, like Lemmy, Paul McCartney, and Chris Squire from Yes. But today I want to show you guys how you could find your tone in particular. Now, what I would want to talk about first is the genres of music that you play or would preferably play. Now, Greg, what would you consider, what genres do you usually play around, or what realm of the spectrum would you say that you play around?
so when I practice, I really just practice. What is it? I usually play jazz sometimes, not all the time. Usually play math rock. It's a correlation to jazz and jazz fusion. Right now, I'm dabbling into a lot of punk shoegaze type stuff. So that's what I usually listen to.
Hmm.
I mean, it's basic, but I try to be at least variety based. Try to get my sound up there.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I'm kind of I'm kind of in a little bit of that I'm a little on a little bit of that spectrum as well. It really depends on like the song that I write or the songs that I do with my band. I'm mostly in the progressive rock genre, so more often than not you will see like a lot of my mids like turned up. A lot of a lot of the time I usually have the mids turned up just so you could have like a much more broadened sound for the tone and the low end, and I also have my bass up as well.
Yeah, I would have played my effects, but there's somebody working downstairs, and I don't want to disturb them so much with my playing.
That's all right. I'm not really going to get too much into effects today. I'm mostly going to get into like what the bass will sound, what just the bass itself. Like as you guys can see over here, this is a Fender Dimension bass. I believe it's a 2013 or 2014. I'm pretty sure it's a 2013. But this is what it looks like. It's a Fender Dimension bass. It was made in Mexico. This is the regular Fender Dimension bass. As you can see, it only has one pickup. The Elite Dimension basses have two pickups. And that's basically my bass. You want to show them your bass, Greg?
So if you guys can see, it's a Music Man Stingray. It's not a classic 1980 one, so I think it's a mid 2000s Music Man. It's created in California. It's not from Japan. I like the ones from Japan. The ones from Japan are a lot more cleaner, but can't beat the Americans. You're American, get something American. Uh, my other two bases that I'm currently painting right now. I'm currently designing. Those are um, those are American in Japan. Currently, right now, I'm in the process of trying to score a Fender Aerodyne. So I want to put this bass in retirement. I think it's time for a new sound. I think it's time for. I mean, not to say I'll never play this bass ever again. I'm just gonna be moving over to jazzy strings and a better, just for punk, jazz basses really make the difference.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That you definitely seem to have more of like that jazzy, like more trebly kind of tone from what
Mm.
it seems like. It seems like you really like that, like, um, not like tinny kind of sound. I wouldn't say it's tinny because that's more towards the Rickenbackers and like the regular Fender jazz bass. But it seems like you have a lot of the mids seem like really strong in a lot of your playing, and like you- how high do you usually have the treble on? How high do you preferably have the treble on your basses?
I try to make it at least 30-40%. Bass has to override everything. Since I try not to I try not to be on par with the guitarist. I try to have more low ends.
Mhm.
I try not to have any I'm trying not to be mid or high. I try to aim to be low. That's how I usually do it.
Yeah, that's honestly how I do it too. Whenever I practice with my band, or whenever I practice with just a guitarist or anything like that, like for example, my band practices in uh the guitarist's basement. So I plug my bass through a PA system rather than one of my amps, because it has like a stronger low end and a stronger sound overall. And I have the bass up to at least 12 o'clock. Most I lo- At least I use 50% of the bass, and it has that like real strong low end. But at the same time, I also have my mids up at least by 50%, or 60 to 70%. I would like to have my mids up around that high,
Hmm.
and depending on the song, I usually have the treble up, either really low or really high. Sometimes, like say, there's this one song that I wrote with them called "The Get Down," and the treble's a little is higher than the treble is higher than usual, at least on this song, because I really want that slap sound. Is that does that not too is that too loud?
No.
Just want so it's like because I'm kind of aiming for that like really that a lot of the slaps and the pops, mostly the pops, to really stand out more, so you can like really hear the sound of the slap. Like if you know Sly and the Family Stone with Larry
Mm,
Graham,
yeah.
just something like that, just so it has like a just so you can hear that along with the low end. I like to have the bass relatively high,
Mm.
but that's just one of my many preferences. Um, you could also, I'm not saying to look at these guys as influences, but take to account certain other like bases, like for just in general, like a lot. I've always suggested that other people should just expand their horizons, go listen to different bassists and different artists. Like when my band was coming up with the Get Down, I was listening to a lot of different like slap artists, like Louis Johnson, Michael Jackson's bassist, and Larry Graham from Sly and the Family Stone and Graham Central Station, and Marcus Miller. I've listened to a lot of the Luther Vandross records, and I listened to some Grover Washington stuff. And I have like I keep in mind of like how everything sounds more so by ear, rather than like looking it up, saying like, oh, his mids were around here, oh, this is his levels. Like I just one way I always like to do it is to just like tune it out, or like to just hear it, like really pay attention to detail as to how the bass itself sounds on its own.
Mm.
um do you have any other ways that you would find like a tone that you'd like?
I mean, I would say just experiment, man. Because I mean, I can't really go into detail on how I do things. I just hear other people, right? I try not to match them so much. What I try to do is, I try to, all I try to do is just try to, not sound like them, but try to incorporate certain tones and certain sounds so that I can make it a bit different than what you probably might have heard. All I do is just rather feeling, man. I just don't, I don't really follow a specific. I don't follow a specific formula. I just try different formulas each time, see what works.
I see what you mean. That's usually what I do as well. Like I just look I instead of really I don't really think more of how the bass should sound. I feel it out and I look and think that hmm, maybe this fits the song more than say what I had in another song that I did previously. Like for example, like the I usually not 90% of the time that I'm like performing like and just performing in general, I use this bass, the Fender Dimension bass. But when it comes to recording, I only use it for when I really like to use that like high end for the more high end kind of stuff and the more like attention to detail kind of tone. Like if you guys listen to my band's one single, Everyone Wants to Be a Hero, the mids are actually up reasonably high. Let's see if I can put it right here. Just that kind of stuff, though. Which, in a way, it almost emulated Steve Harris's P bass. If you know how, if you Greg, if you know how that sounds,
Hmm.
like where like say like running free. Except I know he's famous for having the treble like unbelievably high, like that's running free. I hope I don't get the video taken down because of that. That's running free from Iron Maiden's first album. Or if you guys know, I don't. This is this is kind of a deep cut Iron Maiden song, but I just absolutely love the way the bass sounds on this song. The clairvoyant, just something like that. I I'm not saying to like try and emulate these tones, like these exact bass tones, but I do want them to be like taken into consideration and see like what does it do to the song? Does it strengthen it? Does it add to like a the universal sound that was that band or that band's song? Like Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, for example, he's like one of the biggest parts of Iron Maiden. He's the founder of the band and he's pretty much the foundation of the band when it comes to the rhythm section and just the overall band sound. I think like for example, I would say click off of this real quick and listen to I believe there's a video that shows Iron Maiden without Steve Harris's bass and Iron Maiden with it. If you listen to it, and this is my opinion, there's a huge noticeable difference between that. But that could be said for any other rock band without bass or with bass and all that. But it's not just about the bass being in the song, it's about how the bass sounds. And I think as a bass player, you should always take consideration to how the bass will sound in the music. What bands would you suggest people listen to really look out for the bass, Greg?
I mean, oh man, I don't even think about the bass, but when it comes to, I guess you want to like intricate playing, I mean, you might want to go on YouTube, look up the Math Rock Collective. Um, guess what? I can give you a few math rock bands that I listen to. I listen to, if you know them, they call Piglet.
Piglet.
Um,
Let me just look them
uh,
up.
yeah, Piglet. I mean, they were a band that lasted very, very shortly, but they have two EPs. And if you listen to Buck Stomp, that is one of the best. I in my own honest opinion, they're the best. That was the
Bug
best
Stomp.
bass lines I've ever heard in my entire life.
Bug Stomp is what it's called.
Piglet Buck Stomp.
All right, let me just
You won't get hit with a copyright if you play it. Then it's not owned.
um yeah, we could play a little bit of it if you'd like.
Yeah,
It's
man. It's
definitely
been hold on. Let me go find it for you. I got
yeah. All right. Yeah, you can play a little bit of it.
you.
It's just mostly like the big like rock bands out there like Iron Maiden or like any of those big funk bands that I'm mostly worried about getting blocked or having YouTube block the video for copyright
Yeah,
as
this is they haven't been signed.
they're
They've
more like
never been,
independent.
yeah, they're indie. They've never been signed. So I got you. Hold on a second. Give me a minute. I gotta share the audio real quick. And if you're into tapping, I'm still learning how to tap. I'm still learning how to bass tap. So
Oh yeah. I'm still learning how to tap as well.
just listen real quick though.
Let me mute you real quick because there's some echoing. Mm. That high end, that's the bass that doo, 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 doo,
Mm-hmm.
doo.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
You gotta like, yeah, you really gotta listen to it in order to really get it.
yeah. I like that though. That's very like that reminds me almost of like Les Claypool's bass tone or like Primus. Like if you ever listen to Primus
Yep.
or the it's like Jerry was a race car driver. Let's see if I could play it and hopefully not get blocked. Just like that kind of thing. It reminds me a lot of Jerry. It reminds me like a little bit of Jerry was a race car driver and Winona's Big Brown Beaver,
Mm.
and that I still don't know how to play.
Yeah. I mean, I could show you some. Guess I can show you a few bass lines that I do on my songs with my band. I can
Go
do
ahead.
flamenco, and flamenco just goes like, then then it goes to the bridge, so it goes. I mean, they're basic song. I mean, they're basic punk songs, stuff like that. What I really like is fuzz. So it goes like, and then I just play a few. I don't want to give it all all of it away because we are releasing that EP, and I want you guys to listen to it. So, but when we go into our, it's not a chorus, but it goes a little something like this. So I've been messing around with that, so it sounds like so. I mean, mainly for me, I just been, listening. For me, I always listen to the song. I listen to the bass line, and then for me, it's just all feeling at that point. I just go by what I hear, and then I wish I knew a lot more about scales and whatnot. I mean, I know some of it, but a lot of it for me, man, is just about how I listen to it and how it flows with me, and then I just play it. That's it. That's all I can give you.
Yeah, that I did notice that, like, and I think the tone fits really well with what you're doing. Like, I notice you're doing like a lot of slides as well, and it and I know that's like very prevalent in punk music and just like that kind of like motion and that tempo. Like it definitely adds more variety to the tone,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's
Because I mean, because a lot of punk music is basic, and some certain basses just follow the guitarist. I don't like following the guitarist at all.
mm. I'm on the fence about that because in some songs I will follow the guitarist, and then on other songs I'm doing my own thing.
Mhm.
But I guess it's all a matter of preference too. Like it seems like you're you're leaving interpretation for yourself in the bass line, and it has like from what I hear, it has like a almost like a trebly kind of slap tone to it with with a decent amount of low end. That's that could that rem- that's almost like if you heard Rush's first album by the debut album, Rush's debut album.
Yeah,
They had Getty the if you know Working Man, it kind of has
yeah, I
the
know.
it has that like almost like that slap sound to it. Like
Yeah,
I believe that was a P bass, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been
yeah. It was
either a
a
P.
precision.
Yeah, it was a P bass because that's the one that Geddy Lee first played when he started in Rush, and then he moved on to a Rickenbacker. But I think your tone is definitely quite a unique one, and I like that you really grew a liking to that Music Man because
Yeah, no,
music
I
music.
like the music, man. I just think I just want to move to over to jazz basses a little bit more. Give this one a break because I've been playing this one since high school. It's time to
I
get
see.
my. I mean, I have my own bases. I pay my own money for my own bases, but currently right now they are in design. They're in design mode, so they don't have all the parts and whatnot. So I'm gonna get back to that when the weather gets a lot more nicer, and I have more time to myself, and I'll be able to um design them finally. I have to put one more coating on them, and then I can design them, and then I can clear coat them.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds like a really cool idea. I'm One of the ideas that I have is I actually do plan to retire this base whenever I get an elite dimension base, the one with the two pickups instead of the one,
Mhm.
because I definitely want to explore the tones with that, and I'll probably either I'll probably either get another regular dimension base, when I have the money and uh whenever I can, start being on that base buying binge, if you know how that is.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and I want to probably make a fretless dimension base. See how that
I
sounds,
mean,
because
I bought my Fender Squire 2 when I had 200. It was $200. Best $200. I mean, because they're only those bases are rare to find, so there are only a few in existence. I got one of the many, and now it's pink.
uh,
It's supposed to be a Powerpuff Girls base, so I got the so that's in the making. Can't wait to. I think which one. Oh, excuse me. I have an email from somebody that I'm supposed to be interviewing pretty soon, but I'm sorry about that. But yeah, man. I have one of the Fender Squire twos. It used to be black. I sanded it down, and I put, I did my coats and whatnot, so it's got like 3 coats of pink on it.
mhm.
And then now all I got to do is just clean it off a little bit, put one more coat on it, and then start doing all it because I don't want it to run and whatnot. But you know, I gotta I have all of the stencils and whatnot, so I'll be designing those in due time, and then once I finish that, then it's gonna get clear coated, and then I'm going over the game, not GameStop, Guitar Center, and it'll be recalibrated, redone, and that's one bass down, two to go.
All right. Yeah. I think another thing that I also just crossed my mind while you were while you were talking about the while you were talking about your basses. Another thing that you could find for or I found really helpful when you're like playing bass or when you're new to playing bass, um, and this is gonna sound like an inconvenience to the music store people, but definitely go to music stores and try out other basses because
Yeah.
you'll never know. Um, you might find another bass that you like that sounds just extraordinary. Like as I don't know if I ever told you guys, but originally, before I got this thing, before I got my dimension bass, I was going to get a P bass. That was the original idea on my lit. That was a bass that I was originally going to get because I love the way that P basses look. I'm more as you know, I prefer the P basses. I have nothing against the jazz basses. The jazz basses are beautiful instruments, and I think they sound great as well. But I was originally going to get a P bass because I love the way that P basses sound, and I'm also a huge fan of Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath, so that that was one of the reasons. But I went and saw this. I saw this exact same Fender Dimension bass. I went to the music store near me and I just started playing around with it, playing it, and I just fiddled around with the knobs, and that was it. That was like, this is my bass. This is the bass that I want. This is the bass, like this is my sound. And that's that
I played the Aerodyne one too many times, so I already know how it feels. I know it's light as hell.
yeah.
That's the kind of bass I want. But
This is a fairly light bass too for a Fender bass cuz
yeah,
jazz basses, most like jazz and precision basses are actually pretty heavy.
yeah. I mean, this one it's minimum. It's like it's not light, but it's not heavy. It's just right. But I want, yeah, like the Aerodynes. Those are just light. I love things. Excuse me. I love things that are light. So not too bad on my back and whatnot. Um, so I've been doing all that. But yeah, I think just I mean it's pretty hard right now to g- do that because everybody's scared of getting the bug and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
getting
I mean,
COVID.
yeah, you gotta like do all that other stuff. But I mean, yeah, when you can, because I know Guitar Center won't let you do it as much
Yeah.
anymore
I don't know if
until
any
this
other
whole thing.
places will.
Yeah, some places will. Some like most main guitar places will not let you do it. They'll let you
Yeah.
look at it. They'll um I mean they'll let you test it out, but you gotta like wash your hands and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you gotta let them know and stuff like that. I mean, before you can let them know and they'll just let you and they'll just give it to you. Now you gotta let them know. They gotta, test you and whatnot.
Yeah. Um and this is mostly for the advice um towards the people that like will for when the pandemic ends and when the quarantine is over. But whenever that happens, definitely try out basses at the music store because you'll end up loving a certain one or a way a certain one sounds. Uh, Another thing that you should also take to account is how it feels with a certain style that you play. You might be like, "Oh, I want to do finger style," and that's it. But you might also see how certain people play with a pick, and you're like, "Wow, that actually sounds kind of good." Which I could actually show you that real quick if I get my pick out. Um, if not, I'll just emulate a plectrum. But here we go. Like you might like how a pick sounds, and that could be good too. Which I know I've heard a lot of great pick players. There's Gene Simmons from Kiss. There's Chris Squire from Yes. The like you might like, wow, like I like the way that the pick feels on the like the speed that I get, and I like the just that sound of the pick coming off of the string.
Yeah.
Like it's very condensed, very compressed as well because I'm gonna name out another reference. 25 or 6 to 4 by Chicago.
Hmm.
The it's very riffy. Like a lot of most of the people that like to play with picks prefer that like riff kind of sound on the bass, which it has a more like again, it has a more compressed kind of sound. Like with the bass, like say with the fingers, like I'll play the same riff. Like it's not as consistent. Like
Yeah, well, I mean, you can also, I mean, because I don't know what you're talking about. When you play like well, you play the slow part of the what, something like that. I remember
yeah,
how it played.
and it's a lot of people prefer that feel. Like I'm mostly a finger style player. Like I prefer to play with fingers, and I know you are too, Greg. Like you preferably do finger style.
Yeah, only playing pizzicato.
Yeah, which is okay as well because some people just prefer that feel. They prefer, and I think this is just from my personal opinion. I like the way that the low end sounds better when you're playing with your fingers, but you should never be discouraged from doing that, playing with a pick. If you like playing with a pick, that's your choice, and I'm not your judge. But there's definitely different ways you could do it, and a lot of people prefer that sound. I know that playing with a pick has a bad rep because 90% of the time that bassists play with a pick is because they're guitarists that are just playing bass.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, some of the greatest bassists of all time that were finger styled were originally guitarists, like Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath. I believe Cliff Burton might have been a guitarist that ended up just playing on bass. Jaco Pastorius, I think he was a bassist that originally played guitar, and it there's definitely more than just that stigma that bass players that play with a pick are just guitarists playing bass. Like David Ellefson from Megadeth, for example, he was originally a fingerstyle bassist, but he wanted to keep the speed with Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, and he liked the way that his bass sounded with a pick. Like, see if I could find that exact tone that he does. It's very trebly, but I don't exactly remember. It's like something like this. That was Dawn Patrol by Megadeth. I don't know
Mhm.
if you're familiar with that one, Greg. It's from Rust in Peace.
Yeah, I know what you're
That's
talking about. Hmm.
yeah, that's hands down my favorite Megadeth album. But David Ellison plays with a pick, and his I personally love the way his basses sound. Like P Cells from P Cells, but who's buying? Like it's very punchy. It's very punchy, very straightforward, and it's very consistent. Which is again, if you prefer playing with a pick, this is to look out for. If you like being more punchy and you like that consistency, you can play with a pick. But was another thing. You could also take a book from Paul McCartney's stuff and all the other bass players from the '60s, like John Entwistle from the Who, Paul Samuel Smith from the Yardbirds, and check out their playing. Not all of they have a lot of variety, and even Andy Fraser from Free. I know that wasn't really like '60s. That was like '60s going into the '70s. But Jack Bruce from Cream, he's another. take to account the way they play, and you might like that. That's They have a lot of strong low end as well, like "Rain" by the Beatles, if you guys know that one. That's "Rain." I might get blocked for taking for playing that, but risk worth taking. But that was a they were known for having a strong low end. Like if you ever played an old Gibson bass or an Epiphone Rivali from the 1960s, they have a lot of strong low end, and that might influence you to be like, wow, I really like this low end. I want to try and have my bass sound have like a strong low end to it. Because what is it? You as a lot of as I mentioned before, Billy Sheehan, he was known for like having a strong low end to his bass and having that playing, but he still kept that like trebly consistency that he did. Like if you I don't know if you guys have ever heard his Yamaha bass,
Hmm.
but his signature Yamaha bass, the what the heck is it called? The Attitude bass. I don't know why it wasn't coming to me. His Attitude bass, like it has a strong low end, and I just love the tone of that thing. But he has like a cool trebly sound to it as well. Let's see if I can find it. Like "Addicted to That Rush" by Mr. Big. I'm not gonna play the whole thing because I don't know how to play the whole thing. It's almost like a staticky kind of tone too. Like my low end on this bass doesn't really emulate that staticky low end that he has, but it really it really puts things to perspective on like what you would want your bass to sound like, because Billy Sheehan knew what he wanted his bass to sound like. He may have had like influences and the musicians that he listened to from back in the day, like like Tim Bogert, Paul Samuel Smith, Paul McCartney. They had all those big influences or those bassists that he enjoyed listening to, but he also took to account what he wanted his bass to sound like, rather than I want to sound like this bassist. I want to sound like this bassist. N- it's fine and dandy to have that. I get that people have influences or people would look up to certain bass players, but you definitely have to find that identity yourself. And I think that also helps because you could say, "Oh, I really like this bass player, but I also like this bass player, but I also like the way that this bass sounds. I want to incorporate some elements that, I learned from them, but also have some things that I, do on my own that kind of make me me."
Hmm.
And let me see
Yeah, I
what
couldn't have
else.
said that better myself.
Yeah. Do you have any other piece of advice that you'd want to give them for like at least, what you'd want your bass to sound like? Like,
It's got to sound like you, man. Because I mean, I can't really put that into words, man. I mean, I wish I had the expertise to say what your tone should sound like, but I'm not the type of dude that likes to tell people what to do. It's more or less of what you're gonna do, and that's on you. So as a musician, you know, as a bassist, if you're gonna go down that route anyway, just let it sound like you, man. Don't try to sound like other people.
yeah. That's all there is to it, man. Like there's like it's not wrong to like enjoy hearing like certain bassists how certain bassists sound, but make sure that you have your identity and you have like you have like something that makes you you. Like if you told me when I was 15 or 16 that I was going to get this bass, I probably would not have believed you. But that's what happens. Like you're gonna expect one day, oh, I want this bass, but then you're gonna hear how a certain other bass sounds and be like, oh, maybe I want that bass. Maybe I like how that sounds. And then that's just all there is to it. Like if like I said before, you gotta take to account it's not wrong. Definitely take to account those other bass players that you listen to and you would say that you'd look up to or list just particularly enjoy. Definitely take that to consideration and be like, oh man, this would sound cool on my bass. But also, fiddle around, see how the bass itself would sound in order for you to find the tone that you want. Like like mess around with your bass. That's how you truly get to know your bass and get to know what you're playing and how you're playing it and how it sounds, because there's no other way to really find your bass tone other than that. And before I end this, Greg, what I do want to ask, what got you into picking up that bass that you have, the Music Man, and what really influenced you to want to pick up the Aerodyne?
I think the first person I was watching was a guy from Switzerland. He was playing a Music Man Stingray, so I fell in love with that and fell in love with the sound. I forget who was playing an Aerodyne, but I think I was at a jazz concert and somebody had it. Some bassist that was just playing, and I just like the sound of it. So it's just for me. I just like the sound of things. Whomever's playing it, um, I think that's how I just went by it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's oddly enough, I've actually never seen anyone besides like other people that I follow on social media and people that follow me on social media. I've never seen like anyone like any other famous player actually play this bass. And what honestly, I one of the main things is because I love the P bass and I love the precision bass the way it sounds, but it wasn't like that happy medium for me. I picked up this bass and I played, some techniques that I knew that I would play later on and I knew that I would incorporate in my music. And I was just like, this feels right. This is the bass that I want. This is my bass. And I'm sure you truly felt that, like, that was your bass and you truly felt like you when you played it, when you started playing it with other bands, I have no doubt that it felt good,
Yeah,
to say the
yeah,
least.
it felt a lot good. And it felt a certain way when I was playing it. I just think it's time to move to a different sound. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I also do you also have any preferences on how your bass should be as well? Like do you like not like the action being too high? Do you also like the way that the neck and the fretboard, like, how do you like how they're even, or would you prefer them to be like kind of uh not say crooked, but like on a different angle? Is there
I
any
never really took those into an account. I just took into an account how it sounds, man. Never really took that.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't take that much to consideration either, besides maybe the action.
Yeah,
Like I don't like the action being too high, but I also don't like it being too tight where it feels like I can't move between the strings.
yeah,
Um that's honestly how I want to end it.
yeah,
Uh just always keep on the lookout. Listen to as many bass players as you like. Listen, like, if you have influences or you have bassists that you look up to, take to account who they looked up to. Take to account like what they do to make their bass sound a certain way, how they built their identity through their bass, and definitely just heed advice. Like, I I might have a different sounding bass than you do, and that's okay. That's honestly the beauty of being a bass player, is sounding different and sounding like it's your own style. Like,
yeah,
all of the options that we've mentioned before is just to take to consideration. Don't take it to heart. You might have a different way of finding your identity, and that's totally awesome. If you do, honestly, let me know. Let me know in the comments section of what you would, or what ideas that you have in finding your bass tone and finding out how your bass sounds or how you want your bass to sound. Definitely let
yeah,
me know.
definitely.
But guys, like, comment, share, and subscribe if you want to see videos similar to this one. I will keep you updated on any future episodes of the podcast. I may be doing a live show on Friday, but that's on the fence. Just check on my Instagram at LA Perez Works on my Instagram story. I usually post on that, so just keep on the lookout for that. I will keep you updated on anything regarding the podcast. And I will see you guys either tomorrow or next week. So, guys, have a good rest of your week. Have a great weekend. And as always, stay tuned.
Yeah, see you later.